Release of that report on the fire at Parliament. It's revealed quite a long list of fire safety non-compliance issues. Let's head down to Lindsay Dentlinger, who's just meters away from the front gates of Parliament for us. I believe we do have Lindsay with us again. Hello to you, Lindsay. So I think you and I have had a bit more time to kind of take in some of these damning findings. Viewers just tuning in now at 1 o'clock, take us through what the report is saying.
So, Gareth, as we spoke earlier, as you're saying, a litany of safety measures that were not in place and which really appears to have fueled this fire. Maybe one of the biggest of those is fire doors that were latched on the outside to keep them open, and so therefore they didn't shut as they should have during this fire, and they could obviously have contained the fire in certain spots if they were operating properly and closing as they were meant to. And so I suppose lots of questions will be asked as to why they were latched from the outside. And then other problems related to the Parliament sprinkler system, the valves not having been serviced since 2017. Those are supposed to be done every 3 years. The last, it seems, that some of these sprinkler valves were checked was back in 2020, and so the city pointing out that while this is not a full investigation report, it's the incident report from their fire department. These are the things they noted as they went through the building. This 22-page report also contains a host of photographs to indicate where there were appears that some fire preventing equipment was not functioning optimally, and then also we learn that fire detection systems, while those are in the building and there are alarms, it could not be determined whether they were actually in working order on the day of the fire because they've been so badly damaged by the fire. But what is clear, the fire service is saying today that they did not, in neither the National Assembly building here behind me, neither in the old Assembly building a little further down the precinct where the fire is believed to have been started, did those fire alarms set off an alarm at the city's fire departments. And so they would have had no way of knowing that these fires had started because these systems did not go off. Here's the Mayor, Jordan Hill-Lewis, giving his view on what his fire department has found.
I've received the post-incident reports into the devastating fire that took place at Parliament earlier this week, compiled by the City of Cape Town firemen, senior officers who were there on the scene fighting the blaze. The report is a useful insight into what the firefighters saw on the ground, but of course it does not substitute or replace a full professional forensic investigation into the causes of the fire and whether any systems failures exacerbated the spread of the fire. In the interest of full transparency, and after having sent this to the Speaker of Parliament, we are now releasing this publicly without any further comment, in the hopes that it may be useful and helpful in determining how this tragedy happened and what contributed to it.
Well, the Cape Town Mayor there, Lindsay, picking up on why it's been released the way it is without further comment on trying to find out how and what contributed to this fire. Here's the problem. We need to go back a little bit further in time, don't we, to last year's State of the Nation address, where an inspection was done, where some of these issues were already highlighted. We'll talk about the new State of the Nation address location in a moment, but this isn't something that suddenly happened this year. There were problems a few years back, weren't there?
Yes, there were, and the city's fire department attaching at least 3 years' worth of reports that they compiled ahead of those State of the Nation addresses. When they come here to Parliament, they check all the buildings on the precinct, not only those that are impacted directly by the State of the Nation address, and they point out things that look like they are not in working order or that are missing. The problem being, though, Gareth, they say because this is a national key point, they do not have the jurisdiction to ensure that these safety regulations are implemented and enforced. So they can't come back and rap Parliament over the knuckles for not doing what they should be doing in terms of keeping this precinct safe. But they certainly do point out some of these issues, and some of these issues we now learn from those incident reports, which we don't usually see, that they were highlighted and pointed out as recently as February 2021, the last State of the Nation address. And seemingly, if you read the incident report, it would appear that some of those things weren't dealt with. And we know during the lockdown, Parliament has also been subjected to a lot of construction, maintenance work, etc. And those reports point to the fact that they couldn't access or determine certain safety measures because these buildings were under construction. But certainly they do point out that this is not the first time from this fire that we just saw this week that these problems have been highlighted.
And Lindsay, just before I let you go as well, so normally the venue behind you would be where we see the State of the Nation address or the pomp and ceremony. It obviously still has to go ahead, but not at the National Assembly. That breaking news coming through a few minutes ago. What's the latest?
Yes, so we know the presiding officers have been holed up in meetings this morning with Public Works Minister Patricia de Lille. We're still awaiting some details perhaps on those discussions related to engineers' assessments of this building behind me. But what is clear now, Gareth, from this morning's meetings is we've just learned that the State of the Nation address will be moved to the Cape Town City Hall just down the road from here. It appeared to have been the most likely venue given its size and the ability to be able to host safely an event of that nature. As you know, it's the only time of the year when the executive, the legislature and the judiciary all come together, both houses of parliament, to listen to the president set the roadmap for the year. And Parliament's presiding officers now saying that that iconic building in the city, steeped in history, you will recall it's where the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu introduced Nelson Mandela when he was released from prison to address scores of people for the first time on that balcony. Yesterday we caught up with some parliamentary officials inspecting that building to determine whether it is suitable for such an auspicious occasion, and they've now confirmed that it is. And so now I suspect that all eyes will be on ensuring that that building is safe and meets all the safety protocols for hosting that event on the 10th of February at 7 p.m.
Well, it looks like we've got a new home for SONA for the moment. Lindsay Dentlinger, thank you very much indeed. So keeping an eye on what's happening with the fire investigation, that preliminary report, actually preliminary findings to be more correct. Lindsay, of course, going to keep working all her sources as we bring you the latest on the fire, the cause of the fire, and as you can see, SONA's State of the Nation address moved to Cape Town City Hall on the 10th of February. 7 p.m. is when that will be. Well,